Hi, my name is Maddux McDonald, and I am a psychology student at the University of Arkansas Fort Smith. Today I will be presenting my prospectus for my research methods course. The title of it is Correlations in Anxiety Levels of College Students in Relation to COVID-19 and Online Learning. So college students face many new challenges that cause their anxiety levels to rise. This includes moving away from friends and family, having this newfound independence and having to adjust to not having such maybe a regulated schedule or having people to tell you where to be and to do certain things. And that can be really difficult sometimes for them. So since the onset of COVID-19, these challenges have only grown. Now we're dealing with more sickness, more death, more financial issues maybe than we were before COVID-19. And so these levels have just continued to rise. For this study, I want to investigate the impact of COVID-19 and online learning on college students' anxiety and stress levels and see really what maybe is, if these are causes of anxiety and stress levels to increase in students, and see if there is any relation here. So the goal of this study is to find stressors and find ways that students can learn to combat them. So some symptoms of anxiety include overthinking, indecisiveness, inability to relax, difficulty concentrating, tiredness, insomnia, or nervousness. For anybody, these are just not good for day-to-day life. They make things more difficult with fatigue and being on edge constantly. It can be really hard to live and just function correctly from day to day. And for college students having to already be in such an adjusting and crazy time, it can be more difficult for them. So finding ways that students and professors and mental health care professionals alike can identify these stressors and that hopefully we can find ways to combat them before they become an issue is really the goal of this study. Anxiety and therapy are more widely talked about now than they have been in the past, but it can still be hard for some people to reach out and get the help that they need. And so learning other ways to combat anxiety, and that can be useful for college students and hopefully make them feel less alone in their struggles when they know that they have a reason to be feeling the way that they are, and hopefully they can reach out and get the help that they need. Some key words for my study are anxiety, COVID-19, productivity, online work, generalized anxiety disorder, stress, and anxiety symptoms. For the first article I want to look at, it is called The Psychological Impact of the COVID-19 Epidemic on College Students in China. For this study, they were really looking at how COVID-19 and factors related to that, such as financial difficulties, familial loss, or sickness, how those have impacted the mental health of students, and just if they have impacted them any more than maybe just college in general. So there were 7,143 medical students from China, and they were given a questionnaire that included the GAD-7, which is a generalized anxiety disorder questionnaire, and they were asked these questions about COVID-19. The researchers found that COVID-19 did impact the mental health of students, and some next steps for this research would be testing specific stressors besides COVID-19 to see if COVID-19 is the only factor, if there are other variables that could be contributing to this, and also using an experimental method to find causation and not just a correlational relationship. The next article I want to discuss is the relationship of physical activity with anxiety and depression symptoms in Chinese college students during the COVID-19 outbreak. For this study, they were trying to see if different levels of a physical activity affected anxiety and depression levels. So there were 1,421 Chinese college students, and they completed a survey that included the International Physical Activity Questionnaire, Zung's Self-Rating Anxiety Scale, and Self-Rating Depression Scale. The researchers did find that some types of physical activity are related to lower levels of anxiety and depression, And being able to identify this relationship provides just a whole new insight to this area of research, that maybe there are other things that we can do to implement into our lives to combat anxiety and stress that don't include maybe medicine or therapy if we aren't open to that idea. So more research is definitely needed in this area, and I have included a part about physical activity in my own study and survey just to be able to look at that area of research a little bit. I think that diving into this would be a really good idea for another experiment, because if we can find that physical activity really is a cause for lower anxiety and stress levels, then that would be a good thing that we can implement into our everyday lives to help combat these issues. And also, using an experimental design would help this study, because self-reporting makes the data maybe less reliable than a quantitative measure that we can get. The last article I want to discuss is Antecedents and Consequences of College Student Satisfaction with Online Learning. For this study, they were looking to see if the factors of student instructor interaction satisfaction, teaching presence, academic self-efficacy, and self-management learning were antecedents of the student's satisfaction level with their online course. So they had 236 college students from South Korea participate in a survey which utilized a Likert scale to determine how these factors did affect student satisfaction with online learning. And they found that these were all antecedents of students' satisfaction for online learning. A good step for this study would be looking at students who have previously taken an online course and maybe have also taken an in-person course, so they're able to better compare, because I know some students that's all they've done is online courses, especially due to COVID-19, and so it can be hard to really know maybe either what you're missing out on or the perks of taking a class online, and I think that looking at those factors would be a good next step. So our goal for the study is to build off of these previous studies and look at a combination of factors and how they relate to anxiety and stress in college students. We want to increase the knowledge about anxiety and stressors that college students face, and hopefully fill in some gaps that may be present in this area of research. In this study, I will use the DOS-21 scale to determine the anxiety, stress, and depression levels of students, which will also be accompanied by a survey that inquires about online learning, COVID-19 factors, and physical activity levels. So our hypotheses include: we hypothesize that COVID-19 and online learning will be positively correlated with increased anxiety and stress levels in college students. Alternatively, we intend to show that online learning makes it more difficult to engage with content. Alternatively, we intend to show that different factors contribute to the success of online learners. So for our operational definitions, we have our demographic variables, which include age, defined as the number of chronological years since birth; biological sex, defined as either male or female; classification, defined in terms of the number of college credit hours completed; ethnicity, defined as shared cultural characteristics; and we have our main variables, including anxiety, which is anxious behavior based on the DOS-21 score; COVID-19 illness, including illness, loss, or illness of a loved one due to COVID-19; online learning, which is any learning that is strictly done through virtual means; grade point average, as reported by participants on a standard 4-point scale; stress, which is any type of change that causes physical, emotional, or psychological strain, and these will be measured by the DOS-21 score; and physical activity, which is the amount of time participants spend exercising each week. This study will be a correlational design. It will not be experimental, so we cannot define a causation between these factors, but hopefully we can find that they are related in some way. And we will use the DOS-21 questionnaire alongside a survey focused on demographic features, online learning, COVID-19, and physical activity factors. We will have 100 participants from fall 2022 general psychology sections at UAFS. Ideally, we will have an equal number for each gender, and we will have a range of ages starting from 18 and going up. We expect different classifications ranging from freshman to junior, and we expect little diversity in ethnicity. We will have a consent form, the DAS-21 questionnaire, a survey asking about GPA and online learning experience, and a survey that also asks about COVID-19 illness and physical activity levels. For this experiment, I will send an email to students in fall 2022 general psychology courses with a survey and consent form. I will tell them my name, I am Maddux McDonald, why I'm doing the research, what it means, why we want to know about anxiety and stress levels, the course that I'm doing it for, research methods and experimental methods, and how this will help them, how they may benefit, the risks, and everything will be in the consent form, and all they have to do is access that through the email. They'll fill out the consent form and then access the survey, which will be in a Google form format, and then they will complete the survey and then submit it online, and it will go into the database so we can easily access the data. So it will take about 30 minutes, possibly less. The participants will complete a demographic survey, the DAS-21 questionnaire, and one survey containing questions about anxiety levels, GPA, and learning conditions online. The data will not be associated with the participant's name or identity in any public forum, and information will only be available to research staff. There are no known risks for participation in this study, and possible benefits include bonus points in their general psychology course. For the demographic survey, we have sex, age, classification, ethnicity, and grade point average. Now we have the DAS-21 questionnaire. There are 21 questions, 7 related to anxiety, 7 related to stress, and 7 related to depression. Participants will rate all of the questions on a scale from 0 to 3, 0 meaning it does not apply at all, and 3 meaning it applies very much and most of the time. So from these scores, we can determine the anxiety, stress, and depression levels of each participant. This next one, we have a survey about online learning. It asks questions about whether or not they've taken an online course, why they had to take the online course, was it due to COVID-19 or other factors, how they felt about the course, whether that was, did they feel lonely, did they feel disconnected, did they feel they were missing out on something by having to take a course online and not taking it in person. Different questions like that to determine how their experience with online learning was and how that affected them. We also have another scale based on physical activity, which just asks about their physical activity routine every week, how much they exercise, if at all, or just get an idea of maybe how this can affect anxiety, stress, and depression levels. And then we also have one in the relationship to COVID-19, which just asks about whether they've been sick, their family's been sick, had to do online learning, lost a job, anything like that. So this study is important for college students and mental health care professionals alike because it can give more information into the root of students' anxiety and stress levels. This research can significantly impact human life in that it can hopefully help students get the assistance they need and find healthy ways of coping with anxiety and stress. Some expected outcomes that I have for this study are that steps can be taken to improve online learning experiences for students, especially for those who took them due to COVID-19. I think taking an online course out of a choice is definitely different from taking it because you have to, because of circumstances that are out of your control, such as COVID-19, which isn't anybody's fault, but it can be very difficult for students. And I think finding ways, if we can identify that this is an additional stressor for students, hopefully students, professors, mental health care professionals, administrators, we can all work together to find ways to make the learning experience more effective for students and maybe more inclusive so students feel more connected and don't feel maybe that they're missing out on any experiences that they would have in an in-person course. And I think that would make it better for professors alike because students may be more motivated and it could be more interactive and enjoyable for both parties. Another outcome I expect is that college students can reach out and get the help they need if they know that their struggles are valid, if they know that there is research that backs up why they are experiencing symptoms that they may be having or why they are stressed and anxious, and maybe there are more things that are adding on to that. And hopefully by knowing that they're not the only ones, they will be more inclined to reach out and find ways to regulate them and get the help that they need.